Welcome, one and all, to a video I've been trying to make for like 3 weeks now. Obviously, put it on hold for a bit, but we finally got there in the end, didn't we? Like every other video, I'm gonna try to keep the intro short and sweet for you. All we're gonna do is we're gonna go over the categories for the video, and then we'll jump right into it. First, stat changes. Nothing too special. 5 perks, just straight up number changes. There won't be anything else to it. Just tweaking cooldowns, tweaking duration, stuff like that. Second, minor reworks. The biggest category with 10 perks, mostly number tweaks, but every perk in the category will have 1 or 2 additional effects added to increase the overall strength and variety of effects the perk can give. In the final category, major reworks, consisting of the last 5. This is going to be something that either completely changes the way the perk functions, or completely changes the effect itself, or both. I actually don't know if I don't know if that's a thing, but we'll see. We'll find out. You'll find out. I'll find out. We'll all find out together. And as usual, all the categories will have timestamps down below, so feel free to jump around if you like. Although I do recommend you stick through the whole thing, because there's a lot of interesting things here. Like every other video, give me your thoughts on all these changes down below. Maybe some more perks you'd like to see changed. I will remind you, I do not play Survivor very often, so I'm not going to be as much help in that category. But if there are other killer perks out there that you think are maybe a little weak and could get a rework or a buff, let me know. I might do a part 2 to this video. But that'll be all for the intro. And like every other video, whether you like it or not, like and subscribe. Thanks. So let's get right into it. Starting off with the first perk of the stat changes category, Phantom Fear. Increased aura reveal duration to 4 seconds, was 2 seconds. Reduced cooldown to 40, 35, and 30 seconds, was 80, 70, and 60. During the PTB, Phantom Fear seemed like it was going to be a really good perk. It is not on command aura reading, but very consistent aura reading. As long as Survivor is looking at you within your tear radius, you'll see them. But now that it's been in the game for a couple months, it's not that great. It's not terrible. It's usable, but it's not great. And because of the fact that it's just not great, it gets outclassed by a lot of other aura reading perks of a similar nature. One of which being the new Deerstalker, which is functionally different, kind of plays the same role of a consistent form of aura reading, and Deerstalker just does it way, way, way better. So I wanted to kind of pop it up a little bit, make it a bit more usable, so it's alongside Deerstalker rather than being significantly worse. The second perk of the stat changes category, Forced Hesitation. Increased effect range to 12, 16, and 20 meters, was a flat 16. Reduced cooldown to 30 seconds, was 40, 35, and 30 seconds. Now, Forced Hesitation isn't actually that bad of a perk. It's alright. It's pretty niche, but it functions. The idea here, though, was to make it a bit more consistent, specifically for killers that aren't Oni, right? So any killer that doesn't have that quick insta down. So let's say like Ghostface, for example. Like Ghostface, he has 2 people marked. They're both, one of them's nearby. He downs one. He can manage to use Forced Hesitation a little easier and go for the other. And then also I just want to kind of streamline the cooldown a bit, make it a bit more consistent. I'm not a big fan of cooldowns being based on tier. For the most part, I think it's kind of just clunky. Ignore Phantom Fear. But that's more of a problem with perk tiers existing, more so than the actual effects themselves. On to the third perk of the stat changes category, Human Greed. The auras of chests are revealed to you at all times, was just unopened chests. Increased aura reading range to 10 meters, was 8 meters, and removed the cooldown. So tell me, why the fuck is this perk designed the way it is? Let's be fucking real for a second here, right? Why would you ever need to see the auras of unopened chests over open chests? Why is there a limit to the chests you see at all? Or like, what is the point of it? Why is there a cooldown to picking a chest? What fucking benefit does that have over, like, I just don't get, this perk angers me so much. Like, what is the deal with this perk? Why was it designed this way? It makes no sense for you to see the chests of open, or see, it makes, fuck, that's how annoyed I am. It makes no sense for you to see the auras of unopened chests. Like, that just, because you don't need to. You need, if you saw the auras of open chests, that makes so much more sense. So then you can go down and kick them whenever they get opened. And on top of that, you have to wait, like, what is it, 10 seconds to kick a chest again? What fucking benefit do you get from spam kicking chests? Like, are they genuinely afraid that people are gonna 3 chest an area? It just doesn't make sense. This perk in concept is really cool, but the way it's executed and its balance is so fucking agitating to me. It's such a minor inconvenience. That's what it is. It's a minor inconvenience to my life, but it's such an annoying minor inconvenience. It just blows me away. But before I continue rambling about nonsense, we're gonna move on to the 4th perk. Help Wanted. Now allows for 2 generators to be compromised, was previously 1. Increases the recovery speed of successful basic attacks to 30%, was 25. Help Wanted effects do not stack with each other. I'm not a huge fan of compromised generator perks. I think they're generally pretty weak and super niche, kind of hard to pull off. It's one of those perks where it's hard to activate and you don't get fantastic value out of it. It's just not great. The whole perk concept as a whole is not great. Moving on to the final perk, Undone. For every healing or repair skill check success by a survivor, gain +3 tokens, was skill check failures. Blocks the damaged generator for 1.5 seconds per token, up to a maximum of 45 seconds. Was 1 second per totem, up to a maximum of 30 seconds. Increased cooldown to 30 seconds, was 60. Now I really feel like I don't need to explain this one. Undone is arguably a bottom 5 killer perk at the moment. You'll see in my gameplay, I don't know when I'm gonna throw up the gameplay of me using Undone, but you'll see if you pay attention to the whole game, not a single time does Undone ever trigger. And I want to tell you why. Because basing a perk around skill check failures is like expecting a Dead by Daylight patch to not be buggy as hell. It's just a guarantee that it's gonna be buggy. And it's just a guarantee that it's never gonna proc. Like I've used this perk maybe 5 times, and I think I maybe have gotten 1 use out of it in those 5 games. It's undeniable garbage, completely useless. You'll never get value out of it. I think making skill check successes makes it much more consistent. I think this will make it a great slowdown perk without making it too oppressive. But with that being said, that's all for the stat changes category. Once again, if you have any thoughts on any of these changes, let me know down below. While we move on to the first perk, Lightborn. Added. Whenever a survivor attempts to blind you, gain the 10% haste status effect for 10 seconds. Added. Whenever a survivor attempts to blind you, gain a 20% action speed bonus for 10 seconds. Now I guarantee you, there are a plethora of people out there who honest to God believe that Lightborn is an overpowered perk. Obviously that is not the case. Lightborn is objectively speaking a bottom 5 killer perk and arguably a bottom 10 perk in this game, period. It does absolutely nothing. Its effect is pointless. The only thing that's worth is screwing with bully squads. I think giving it a bunch of effects would make it a much better perk. I actually think giving it a bunch of effects would make it a little good. I think this would be a great change to Lightborn. I think it'd make it pretty usable and maybe even pretty fun. Moving on though, to the second perk, Awakened Awareness. Increased aura reading range to 24 meters. It's 20. Added. This effect lingers for 1, 2, 3 seconds. Now for those of you who are around for Wesker's release, you would know why this perk is the way it is. And you would know that the effect I added used to be a part of the perk as well. But for those of you who don't know, allow me to give you a brief history lesson. Nurse, it's Nurse. Nurse's blink attack used to count as an M1, and because of that, people would run to Awakened Awareness and Starstruck with Nurse and insta-down everybody instantly. This was such a problem that instead of fixing the Nurse, they decided to nerf this perk on release, and I think it's been pretty useless ever since. But since then, Nurse has been nerfed, and I think the perk is good to be reverted back to its original state, and then a little bit buffed, because it was kind of weak to begin with. Moving on to the third perk, All Shaking Thunder. Increased activation window to 12, 16, 20 seconds, was 8, 12, 16. Added, grants a 10% haste for 5 seconds upon landing, and remove the activation sound. Now, this perk is super niche, borderline useless 90% of the time, especially when there's a perk who does everything this perk does but 10 times better, that being coup de grace. So I figured giving it a little bonus effect, making it the killer version of balanced landing, would make it a bit more usable. Give it a bit more to make it a bit more interesting to use. And then on top of that, obviously removing the activation sound, because if you ask me, survivors don't need to know when this perk is activating. But we'll get into that rant. We'll get into survivor information rant a little bit later. Moving on to dominance. Increase the duration dominance blocks interactables for 12, 16, and 20 seconds, was 8, 12, 16, and added. The aura of that survivor is revealed to you for 2 seconds. Dominance is a fine perk, if not boring. I thought giving it aura reading would make it a bit more interesting, make it a bit more useful. You can use it as a pseudo slowdown perk on top of a pseudo information perk. That's really it though. There's not a whole lot to this thought process here. Moving on to superior anatomy. Reduced cooldown to 20 seconds, it's 25, and added. Halting a window while superior anatomy is active grants a 10% haste for 10 seconds. And you know what? That effect, that seems kind of similar to another perk. Hex 2 can play. Removed the Hex status. Anytime you are stunned or blinded by any survivor, 3, 2, or 1 times, 2 can play activates. Was 4, 3, 2 times. Blinds all survivors who stun or blind you for 2 seconds. If you ask me, I don't know, maybe this is just a me thing. Hex 2 can play is not a good perk. It's also definitely not good enough to be a Hex perk. So I feel like making it occur every other stun and or blind would make it consistent, and also removing the Hex would make it usable, because as it is, Hex 2 can play is one of those perks. You activate it, and then it's gone before you get a chance to use it. So, there you go. Now for the next perk, Darkness Reveal. Increased aura reading range to 10 meters, was 8. Reduced cooldown to 20 seconds, was 30, and added. Reads auras of survivors hiding in lockers. Now Darkness Reveal is almost a great perk, if you ask me. It's almost great, but due to the lack of locker spawns, and yes, I know, they increased locker spawns across the map, but similar to their pallet density changes, there are still massive dead zones without lockers, and there are just so many there's so many maps. It is a consistent thing throughout most maps where there will be long, huge gaps without lockers. So I think increasing the aura reading range would be very helpful. I just thought it'd be fun to give it the ability to read auras of survivors hiding in lockers. I'm kind of shocked this hasn't been a thing already. I think it makes perfect sense for Darkness Reveal to have this effect as well. But now, for the next perk, Haywire. Reduced progression required to regress to 60% was 80. Added. Whenever an exit gate reaches 90, 80, 70% progress, a loud noise notification is triggered. This is another bottom 5 killer perk in the game. Absolutely fucking useless, especially ever since they nerfed it due to singularity. But if we're being honest, the perk wasn't great to begin with. And I think the main problem is you can't really act on its effect. I feel like giving it a bit of information for when survivors are doing the gate would make it a lot better. For the next perk, we have Hysteria. Increased effect duration to 35, 40, 45 seconds, was 30, 35, 40. Added. Hysteria activates whenever a survivor is down. Added. Hysteria now inflicts the blindness stats effect. This is another perk I feel like is so close to being good, but just gets held back by a couple of factors. First of all, the fact that it only triggers on basic attack downs. What up, y'all? Julie, post-production. I'm back. What's going on? I just want to give a little fix to this little perk change here. So, originally I thought Hysteria activated on basic attack downs, like I said. Turns out it's actually just upon injuring a healthy survivor, which you would think I would have known when I recorded the audio, because I recorded the audio after I recorded the gameplay, and in the gameplay I use Hysteria, but I didn't know that, apparently, and I just completely ignored it, I guess. Nonetheless, I would, instead of adding the downed triggering thing, I would replace the injure healthy survivor thing. So I'll probably have the text up in the proper text here. So when I speak on this, just ignore the discrepancy. I think it's ridiculous. The effect is good, but it's not that good. I think making it a down period would make it far more interesting and far more consistent. And also, the effect itself, the Oblivious status effect, is not great by itself. It can be, but most of the time it isn't. I think giving the blindness status effect on top of that, especially since they've removed knockout, would make it far better, far more impressive. And now we reach the final perk, Disillusion. Oh, let's get into it, baby. Instantly breaks the next pallet that survivor performs a fast vault across while within 20 meters of the killer, was within tear radius. Survivors are no longer notified when Disillusion activated. Now we're coming back. We're coming back to the All Shaking Thunder thing. Why the fuck does Disillusion and All Shaking Thunder give the most noticeable, the biggest notification of its existence? All Shaking Thunder is not a good perk. That should just not have any notification, period. And neither should Disillusion. There is no reason in the world that survivors should know that Disillusion is activated. Disillusion is a great effect that is, it's just plagued by so much shit. It is crazy. Like, first and foremost, let's just go over the amount of activation requirements it has at the moment. The first of which, you have to injure a survivor. Fair. That's very fair. The second of which, you have to wait 3 seconds for the perk to activate. Okay, I guess. The third of which, it only activates for 20 seconds, which, once again, I mean, is, I guess, fair in a vacuum. 20 seconds to get that to activate it, that's perfectly fine. But then it has to be a fast vault. And on top of that, it has to be within your terror radius. So not only do you have to hit a survivor, you have to hit a survivor, wait 3 seconds, get them to vault the pallet within that time frame, within the 20-second time frame. They have to fast vault it, and you have to have your terror radius activated, all while they are aware the perk is active. So 90% of the time with Disillusion, you're not going to get any value out of the perk. You're going to get value out of the survivors not vaulting a pallet because they would rather you just straight up fucking down them than vault the pallet. It is ridiculous how close this is to being such an incredible, useful, consistent perk. But they just put so much shit on it. This is like telling somebody to run a mile while shackling their ankles, having someone jump on their back, tying a blindfold to their eyes. Like, it is ridiculous to me. It is absolutely fucking absurd how much this perk has going against it. Granted, it is still my favorite perk in the game, but that does not change the fact that this perk is absolutely befuddlingly stupid. But that's going to be all for the minor rework. We're going to go ahead and we're going to move on to the final category, the... And I say, hey, yeah, 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 hey, yeah, yeah. Opening us up, we have Unbound. Ooh, that's right, baby. Superior anatomy changes coming back again. Removed previous effect. Now, breaking a pallet while Unbound is active grants a 10% haste status effect for 4, 7, and 10 seconds. Now, like I said, I gave Unbound's previous effect superior anatomy. I feel like it makes more sense for the two effects. I think it makes more sense for both effects to be applied to one perk rather than two separate perks. Because not only are both effects fine, they're just a little weak as is. Putting them together makes one really good perk. I thought, what would be an interesting idea for a perk that functions similarly to Unbound, but is its own thing? Breaking a pallet gives you haste. Kind of surprised, like Darkness Revealed, that this hasn't been tackled yet. I feel like this would make it far more interesting. And also, I want to add right now, before I forget, this would only affect pallet kicks, not breaking a pallet with your power. Forgot to add that. We're going to go ahead and slide that on there. But yeah, I feel like this would help a lot for specifically with weaker killers who have a hard time dealing with stronger pallets. And I also feel like it would help with dealing with god pallets a lot. But yeah, that's Unbound, the first of our major reworks. Moving on to the second of the major reworks, Shadowborn. Ooh, I bet I didn't even point it out to you. I bet you didn't even notice that I gave Shadowborn's effect to Lightborn, because who the fuck knows what Shadowborn does? Let's be fucking real. You know what? Let's run that back. Removed previous effect. Whenever a survivor's aura is revealed to you, become undetectable for 20 seconds. Shadowborn has a cooldown of 80, 60, and 40 seconds. Now, like I said, I bet most of you motherfuckers didn't even realize I added Shadowborn's effect to Lightborn, because nobody knows what Shadowborn does. Like, let's be honest. When was the last time you used Shadowborn since its FOV change? You haven't. I guarantee you haven't. And if there's someone out there who says, Shadowborn's my favorite perk in the game, you're a liar. You're a liar, you're a cheat, and you're a fraud. Nobody cares about Shadowborn. This perk shockingly has a decent effect, but is also still dog shit. So shut up. Shut up and I hate you. Nonetheless, though, I feel like this new effect would be a lot better. It'd make the perk usable. And I also think it would give it a lot better perk synergy than it has now. But maybe that's just me. Now, at the halfway point, we move on to Scourge Hook, Hangman's Trick. Firstly, removed loud noise notification. This effect is useless, especially with Hangman's Trick current effect where you can see auras of survivors under hooks. Absolutely pointless effect. Was never good to begin with, let's be honest. Added, increases the amount of hooks changed into Scourge Hooks by 2. Added, survivors that successfully sabotage a Scourge Hook are injured. If the survivor is already injured, they will become broken for 10, 20, and 30 seconds. Now, Jagged Compass is one of my favorite perks in the game because it makes Scourge Hooks far better than they are. Scourge Hooks as a concept are really cool, but because of the way that they spawn, they're useless 70% of the time. Specifically, Pain Resonance. There are so many instances, like let's say Eerie Crows, for example, where you have Pain Resonance and 2 of your hooks spawn in the top floor of the main building and the 3rd one in the back corner, and then you have 1 Scourge Hook on the opposite side of the map, still tucked in a corner. This would give you better hook spawns right off the bat because you have more. I feel like this would be a good counterpart to Jagged Compass, because whereas Jagged Compass, the Scourge Hook effects gets better as the time goes on, Hangman's Trick makes it so it's better right off the bat. So it'll be able to pair better with Pain Res than Jagged Compass would. But on top of all that, making it so survivors become injured when sabotaging or broken, that adds a genuine threat to sabotaging hooks. At the moment, there is no threat to sabotaging hooks, especially if you know the killer doesn't have a carry perk or a backpack build or something like that. I think this would make that a bit more. I think this would make sabotaging hooks a bit more scary. I think it'd make it a bit more interesting just across the board. But I might be wrong about that. Once again, I don't play Survivor, so maybe that'd just be really annoying and pointless. None are free. Change None are free into a hex perk. Once all generators are completed, if Adult Totem remains in the environment, Hex None are free activates and lights it. All upright pallets are blocked. All downed pallets are reset. Once this perk activates, Hex None are free reveals the aura of its Hex Totem to all survivors within 16, 12, and 18 meters. Now, None are free on paper has a pretty good effect. It's an endgame blood favor. But in execution, I think its effect is a little weak and also doesn't last long enough. So I think making it function like Noed would make it a far better perk, a far stronger perk across the board, and I think it'd make it more of a threat. And for our final perk of the video, Dark Arrogance. Removed previous effect. Everything you know about this perk is gone. For each injured, dying, or hooked survivor, gain 1 token, up to a maximum of 4 tokens. Increases your vault speed by 5%, up to a maximum of 20%. Reduces the duration of pallet stuns by 7%, up to a maximum of 28%. Reduces the duration of killer blinds by 5%, up to a maximum of 20%. If a survivor heals, that token is revoked. So, I based the idea of this perk rework entirely off of its flavor text, which I will read off and flash to you here. When everything is going right, you are an inescapable inevitability. And the way the perk functions now just does not make sense. First of all, you get a pretty lame effect, which is a 25% vaulting speeding. You can get a better effect from Superior Anatomy, and you get a weaker effect, but a better bonus effect with the other perk I forgot, with Bamboozle. So this is just a weak effect as is. But on top of that, you have not 1, but 2 downsides to being stunned. That just doesn't make sense to me. I think making it similar to Thanatophobia would make it far more interesting, because Thanatophobia, concept-wise, is a very interesting perk. And with Dark Arrogance, that brings an end to today's video. Oh, fuck you! Bonus perk! You got pranked! Insidious! Removed previous effect. Your stealth ability is one above all. You start the trial undetectable for 15 seconds. Extends the duration you are undetectable by 10, 12.5 in 15 seconds. Insidious benefits from its own effect. I'm sure you've probably seen this concept before. I saw it online, and I liked it, and I wanted it, so I added it. That's pretty much it. I just think this is a cool effect. I think Insidious is the worst killer perk in the game. It gives you nothing. It is super niche to the point of it looking niche to niche perks. Like, it is impossible to describe how bad this perk is unless you understand Dead by Daylight. It's a whole thing. Insidious sucks. This effect would make it far more interesting, in my very egotistical opinion. But with that, we really come to the end of this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, leave a like and subscribe. And like I said, if you didn't, you still better like and subscribe. You know, with all that being said and done, I got nothing else to say, nothing else to add. I don't want to keep you here any longer than you already been here. Thanks for watching. Adios.